I'm Ace of Clay and welcome to my 2023 year in review. This is a tradition I've been doing since I started my channel, where my last video of each year is where I go through all the sculptures I made. And don't forget to stay tuned until the end of the video, where I will be showcasing some of the sculptures you've created this year as well. Now, I really went into this year thinking I was going to push the envelope and just create crazy things every week. I wanted to make dioramas, I wanted to make large sculptures. I had so many ideas, but it kind of just turned into me running in place, sort of business as usual, and I really hope that changes in 2024 because I do have a ton of ideas. It's just getting them executed that's the hard part. But with all that being said, I would definitely say this was a successful year. I did Monsterpalooza in June. I released a couple sculpting products. I got my sculpting mat. We released a couple plushes. I did an in-person sculpting workshop. So overall, while YouTube may not have been super crazy, I was pretty busy on the outside of things. But overall, I really enjoyed 2023 and I'm very excited for 2024 and what that's gonna bring. I've got a custom sculpting tool set that will be coming out soon. I'm going to be releasing several new sculpting products. I'm going to expand my line of plushes and I'm really excited to share them with all of you. And now with all that said, let's start this 2023 year in review. All right, my first sculpture was Wednesday Addams from the Netflix show Wednesday. I made her right at the peak of her dancing scene going viral on every social media platform, and she performed pretty well, especially for a January upload. I love that I did the stylized depiction of her, kind of made her look like a stop motion Tim Burton character. We used the cosplay on the frilly parts of her dress and her little wispy pieces of hair. And I don't know, I think it looks like Jenna Ortega. All in all, I think she was a successful sculpture and she was a great start to 2023, I will say that. Next up, I have my monster Belle. This one I really didn't think was going to perform well at all because, I mean, look at her, like, I don't know. But she did. She actually surpassed all of my expectations and really gave me confidence going into January. She was a pretty straightforward sculpture, just like most of them typically are with me, but we added this amazing creepy monster face to her dress, and of course she's wearing her yellow ballroom gown and she's got her little updo and she's just kind of like, you know, that's Belle. Now the next video of the year is this horrendous aerial sculpture. She was purely experimental. I really wanted to see how fast I could make a complete sculpture from start to finish, and the answer I got was 4 hours. That was from armature to sculpting to painting, finishing, whatever. And I kind of played with that Disney princess as a monster theme that we did with the Belle that was successful, but she didn't do so hot, which is fine because, I mean, if I never saw her again, I would be completely fine with that. Next up, I have my monster Snow White, again doing more of that Disney princess as a monster idea. I personally think she is my best sculpt of the year, even though the video didn't perform as well as I thought it was going to. I think that just the quality of this sculpture surpasses a lot that I did last year. I really like how her face turned out. I really like how dynamic I made her. I love the long, scary neck, and I love that her face still kind of looks like Snow White, even though it's this crazy monster head. So I don't know. If you haven't seen that video yet, be sure to check it out. I definitely, like I said, think it's one of my best videos of this year. Next up, we have the start of my realistic Courage the Cowardly Dog villains. This is Ramses or Ramesses. Return the Slab. This guy was cool. It's fun interpreting two-dimensional characters as three-dimensional realistic or more realistic versions of themselves. I always like doing that, which is why I do it so often. But I think Ramesses came out cool. I really like the flowy fabric, and of course, you know, cosplay for the win on that. I don't know, what do you think? Did you like Ramesses when I released him? Next, we have the last of my Courage the Cowardly Dog villains, which is Freaky Fred, who's definitely freaky, definitely more realistic than the two-dimensional version. Got his little work bag there. This guy was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed making him. I know he's got my typical like armature style with, like, you know, skinny legs and arms and all that, but his hair was pretty pretty fun to make. That synthetic wool that I use, you can really manipulate it to be whatever you want. And then if you use it with Mod Podge, you can really make it do whatever you want. And the next sculpture I made this year was Ronald McDonald. He is in Australia right now with Jazza because it was part of my collab with him back a few months ago. That was a lot of fun to make, taking this beloved childhood character, McDonald's mascot, and turning it into this horrifying killer clown and 2 zombie workers. That was pretty cool. And of course, collaborating with Jazza, like, what's not to love? I remember I specifically made him entirely out of cosplay because I was so worried about him breaking on his trip to Australia. So I made sure that he was pretty flexible and posable. And it worked out very well because he arrived there safe and sound, and I think Jazza has him displayed somewhere in his studio, I think he told me. Next we have my monster Peach from Mario Brothers. She was a fun one, a very interesting concept, if I do say so myself. She's kind of this parasitic monster that's disguising herself with this cracked out mask. Always loved the Fabri-Tac drool. That always works very well. I released her when the Mario Brothers movie came out and everybody and their brother was sculpting Mario characters, so I figured, why not jump on the bandwagon? She did not let me down, I will tell you that. And speaking of jumping on trends, I have to say in my niche of the YouTube world, it's pretty important that you do jump on trends every once in a while, because that is how you bring in new followers and how you get noticed by people that may not be searching Sculpey or sculpting. Like, you know, the people that searched the Mario movie would see her and then watch the video, and maybe that would, you know, bring them in or make them want to start sculpting too. So it is important to follow trends. It is also important to sculpt what you want to sculpt too, because if you don't, you're just making stuff that other people want to see, you're going to drive yourself nuts. And I've done that before, and I've done that a lot this year, and I'm not proud of it, but sometimes it's the right thing to do for the time and place. And like I said, YouTube, the algorithm keeps changing, people's interests keep changing, people's attention spans keep changing. So you have to grow and evolve with what is happening around you. And if that means, you know, doing what everyone else is doing, you know, putting your own spin on it, of course, not directly copying anyone, I'd never condone that. But if it means, you know, having to jump on a couple trends, nothing wrong with that. But that's just kind of why I do that every once in a while. Next up, we have the Collectrix, which is my first venture back into the Mutant universe, or the hidden world as I now call it. She is a pretty interesting character, and she's definitely got an interesting story, so be sure to check that out if you got a sec. But I think she is a pretty successful mutant, definitely in keeping with the style of my other ones. She's pretty humanoid, but she's got these long, gangly evil arms that are pretty posable because they're cosplay and wire. While I'm talking about that, do you want to see more Mutant Universe videos next year? I would love to make them. I do have more ideas for them, and if you want to see more mutants or characters or good guys or whatever, let me know in the comments of this video, because I really want to know, because I really want to make more. And I feel like I didn't release enough of them last year, so maybe that can change this year. The next sculpture I made after the Collectrix was the AI creature, where I used a description from ChatGPT to come up with a design for a sculpture, and that one came out kind of freaky. Now this one I did get a little bit of backlash on because people thought I was supporting AI, and I really just thought of it as harmless because I wasn't generating an image. I was using a description that it wrote for me, and I'm the kind of person where if something new comes out, instead of running away from it or being afraid of it, I tend to try to embrace it, because we all know AI isn't going anywhere. Like, every tech company is releasing their version of ChatGPT and all these other features and stuff, and like pretty soon you won't even have to write your own emails anymore. And I mean, that's honestly already happening. But I just thought it would be a fun challenge to take a description from something that is completely artificial and turn it into a sculpture, and I never did it again. So that's the Soul Eater. Next up, I have another one of my personal favorites from 2023. This is the Bellhop. He is the second Mutant Universe or Hidden World character that I created last year, and I just love how he looks. I probably could have been a little more detailed and I guess patient with his clothing. I could have definitely made it a little more intense, but I love how his head turned out. And he is also the first male Mutant Universe mutant that has facial hair. I love how he turned out, and I love his story. This is when I actually started writing a story, like a solid story about the mutant universe, and I'm still working on that. The whole thing, it's a story in my head. I just have to get it down on paper. I need to like R.L. Stein that. This is when I really started taking that seriously, and then I guess my ADHD just made me get bored of it and I didn't keep going with it, but I do want to finish it, and I will eventually, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I think he has a pretty in-depth story. This is where I introduced the Knotty Pine Inn, which is like the central sort of focal point for the whole story. Again, I will definitely get that story written at some point in time. Or at least like a series of short stories. You know what I mean? Like something like that I think would be cool too. The next sculpt after the bellhop was another Hidden World character. This is the bear guide. His name is Greylock, and he is physically the largest guide character. Now, while we're on the topic of the guides, I want to say that there are 13 in total, and I've only released 6. So this year, I definitely want to make a couple more. I'm not sure I'll get to all 13, but I definitely need to get them out of my brain because the next one that I have in my head is really cool. Maybe I'll do a video, like a really long video where I sculpt just the next 7 of them. But all in all, Greylock is a pretty cool character. He's definitely in keeping with the style of the other guides, of course, but I don't know. I think he's cool. I really miss making these guide characters, and I definitely want to release more plushes of them too, because right now we just have Winston. So let me know in the comments, if I make another guide plush, which one do you want to see? Do you want to see Whisper? Do you want to see Otto? Do you want to see the Owl guide? Do you want to see the Wolf guide? Let me know, because I could always use your input on that kind of stuff. And I love his name, Greylock. All right, we're gonna take a quick break from today's video to talk about our sponsor, BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video. Mental health is so important. I know it's a regular struggle for me, and it's especially important when it comes to being a content creator and having to make a new sculpture every week. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it is 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 experienced therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy, so BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. You can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's through chat, text, video, or phone call. You can message your therapist at any time and even schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for whatever reason, you can switch to a new one for no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you will get the same experience and quality that you expect from traditional in-office therapy, but with a therapist that is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. If all of this sounds good and you're ready to start taking steps to better your mental health, go to betterhelp.com/aceofclay, that's better H-E-L-P, and you will save 10% on your first month. I have them linked below for you. Everything you need is in the description box. And the next week we went the popular character route, and I made my version of a Xenomorph. He's definitely slimmer than a real one. I'm well aware of that. A lot of comments didn't like that I made him so skinny, but I don't know. I was making him in my own style. I put off making one of these for a really long time just because I needed to be in like the right mindset for it, because there's so many little details on him. If I did make a Xenomorph again, or if I did, you know, redo him, I would definitely add more detail, take more time, and of course not make him as skinny. And the next week I made Chainsaw Man. I don't have him with me anymore because I gifted him to my niece, but he is my first official anime character that I've sculpted, and he came out pretty cool. I did totally screw up the angle on his chainsaw. I'm not super familiar with the show, so I didn't look hard enough at the reference photos, I guess, but I mean, it looks like Chainsaw Man. Sometimes with the way my brain works, and this is probably the ADHD, is the way that something actually looks is different than how my brain interprets it. So I could have been staring at those reference photos for hours, and I still would have seen the chainsaw sticking out of his head at the wrong angle. I don't know. That was a fluke on my part. Really had no idea it was that off, but my niece liked it and she really likes the show. So next up I have the Innkeeper, who was the final Hidden World character that I created this year. this is expanding on my core story of the Naughty Pine Inn, and he kind of goes with the bellhop. And I really like the facial hair so much on the bellhop that I gave him facial hair too. I think he's really eerie looking. He's pretty simple. I don't think he's your favorite Mutant Universe character, but I think he's cool, and he's got that, you know, whole stop motion looking thing going on. Now I have to ask you too, another question for you to answer for me in the comments. With the Mutant Universe sculptures and the mutants themselves, do you like the more humanoid looking mutants, like this guy and the Ice Cream Man, or do you like the more animalistic, crazy alien looking ones like the Parasite or the Barber? Like, you know, do you like the out there ideas, or do you like the more, you know, honed in humanoid looking ones? Let me know in the comments. I think I know what your answer is going to be. Next up, we have my big Babadook sculpture. I made this guy before I went to Monsterpalooza, kind of in the same style and process as my big Krampus that I made a couple years ago. I really like how he turned out. I think he's really big in Australia. I like how he's not just a, you know, simple robe this time. He's actually got a tattered suit, and he's all squiggly, and he's hunchbacked, and he's got his little hat. And of course the long, creepy fingers that I love sculpting. I think this guy turned out pretty cool. He took a while too, because I really couldn't figure out how to make that jacket like look good, but I got to a good point, I think. And then he's all the fabric is hardened, so it, you know, performs exactly how I want it to. And just look at that smile, like those nasty teeth. I would never trust this guy. Next up, we have Evil Grimace. I made him when that Grimace shake trend was really popular on TikTok. I was a little late to the trend, but I still did it. He's definitely creepy. He's also definitely not my favorite sculpt. I never really liked the McDonald's like mascot characters. I don't know why, they just never resonated with me as a child. And I kind of just did this because it was trendy. But yeah, don't really have much to say about him. And the next video I did was my creepy Willy Wonka. I really had a lot of fun making him. I love, like I said before, interpreting innocent, I guess somewhat innocent characters into creepy versions or creepier versions of themselves. And I think this guy turned out pretty cool. I did break him at the end there, and I never fixed it, which I should probably do that. But all in all, I thought he was cool. And I always love putting that real hair on things. I think it makes a huge difference. And of course, what would a creepy Willy Wonka be without a terrified Oompa Loompa? I really like the head sculpt on this guy. I think I did a pretty good job with it, and it definitely looks like an Oompa Loompa. I love the inside of the mouth. I did a lot of open mouth characters this year because normally I just kind of take the easy route and make the mouths closed, but I really enjoy putting all the little teeth in and just adding that extra detail of like a tongue and, you know, just another thing to look at. I think that's always really important. I remember I sculpted the face like really fast too. I kind of like surprised myself that I was able to, you know, do it that well, that quickly. I mean, not to like toot my own horn, but that's kind of what I was thinking. And then loved the green hair. I always hated Oompa Loompas, but I loved the original Willy Wonka movie with Gene Wilder. Loved it. Hated the remake. I'm curious to see what this Wonka one is about. I haven't seen it yet. I don't even know if it's out yet. And next we have my stop motion style Jareth from Labyrinth. I love this piece, and I love his hair, and I love the glitter, and I think he's really cool. That was one of my favorite movies when I was younger, and I would love to make more characters from it if you want to see them. But this was a really fun piece to make. Then we've got my next sculpture, Cinderella or monsterella, whatever you want to call her. She's kind of a play on my bell that I did earlier in the year. Look at these. Look at these happy sisters. Don't they look lovely? I actually think the Cinderella is better than the bell, but the bell video did way better than the Cinderella video. So it's probably because I did the same thing twice and you guys didn't like that, but I think she's cool. I love the tongue. If you got a creepy monster with teeth like that, you gotta give it a tongue. Cinderella also concludes my Monster Disney Princess series. I don't think I'll be doing any more this year, but if you really wanna see them, and if enough people ask me, I probably will, but as of right now, they're not on my radar. And the next one I sculpted was the Home Depot Boogeyman animatronic, kind of giving him my own spin. As a Halloween lover, there's nothing better than going into Home Depot for the first time in the fall and seeing all of their new animatronics and stuff, or like, you know, checking online and seeing what they're coming out with this year. And when I saw him, I just fell in love with him, and I actually bought the animatronic because I loved it so much and turned him into a little mini version of himself. I love that his mouth moves, but like he's got this skin stretched over it. I thought that was a really creative idea on the designer's part, and he makes a cute little sculpture. Next up, we've got the Pumpkin Creeper, not to be confused with the Pumpkin Reaper from a couple years back. This guy is pretty neat. I just picture him growing out of the ground, just a bunch of vines just coming out of the ground and forming this creepy, miserable character. As he's growing, like the part of the vine that turns into his head kind of gets stuck in a pumpkin and it just cracks around him. And I just think he's super creepy. Definitely inspired by that pumpkin guy that Home Depot released too. What's it called? Like the Inferno pumpkin. He's like 14 feet tall or something like that. The Pumpkin Creeper. And next up, I've got my little sad scarecrow character with the cat ears. You guys seem to really like him, and I want to know, is it because he's got other elements, he's got a base, and he's kind of like a mini diorama, or do you just like him because of the subject matter? I know he did pretty well when I released him, and I really enjoyed making him. So I guess I just need to start thinking of different experiences to sculpt or different techniques to use and stuff, because that always like reignites my imagination and my passion for sculpting, because it does get pretty redundant week after week doing basically the same thing. And being a creative person, especially a creative person with ADHD, like that gets old pretty quick. But you know, gotta keep going. I love what I do. I just gotta keep it spicy for myself. And next up, we've got the friendly vampire with his pet bat. I enjoyed making this guy. I think he's cute. He's not scary and evil like most of the stuff that I make. And I really like his stone base. I like the dynamic pose. It's been a while since I've sculpted a vampire or Dracula. The last one I did was, that was in like 2019. And I do have to say too, the first sculpture that I made when I started Ace of Clay back in 2014, even before I started my YouTube channel, it was a vampire, and I still have him. And I covered him in resin, and he looks like glass, and I will always cherish him, and he's kind of like a new interpretation of that guy. Next up, we've got this sad excuse for a video, my little two-faced grandma whose head spins around from cute old lady to mom in Psycho, mother in Psycho. Next up, I've got my little pumpkin dude sitting on a bench. You guys like this one too. I think it is because you like the dioramas more, you like the sculptures that include more than just a character. Like this guy is a bench. I definitely could have made the bench more detailed. He's just kind of sitting there because he's misunderstood and his family wants him to be scary, but he doesn't want to, and he's just kind of sitting there contemplating life, not sure what to do, where to go next, you know, who should he talk to about it. And next I made Ghostface, another popular character sculpture. Been wanting to make him for a long time. I got a lot of requests for him over the years, and I finally did it. It was probably a little too late, but I did it. Like, at least I did it, right? He's pretty self-explanatory. I also gotta mention, I love using satin varnish on different elements to make them look like leather or plastic, and it's a nice contrast to the nice matte finish of his other robes. See, his shoes are shiny, and his gloves are shiny. Like, I'm going around my room right now grabbing these sculptures, and I'm looking at the other ones from past years, and I can't believe they're already that old. Like, I thought my tree diorama for Halloween, I thought that was from this year. That was from last year already. All right, the next couple sculptures I made this year, I don't have them in my possession because they are currently on display at My Pops. If you're in the Southeast Michigan area and you want to check them out in person, My Pops is located in Shelby Township, Michigan. The address is right there if you want to make a little visit. But Snow Miser, Heat Miser, Evil Buddy the Elf, my Grinch, my Creepy Grinch, and Baby Grinch are all on display there right now. And I think they'll be there through like mid-January, and then I'm gonna switch them out for some new sculptures. So if you wanna see them in person, they are there now. But anyway, so the story of why I made Snow Miser, it's another Home Depot animatronic story, because when I went there to get some Christmas decorations this year, I saw that they had a Jack Frost animatronic that was made in the same vein as their Halloween sculptures. So I can just picture someone higher up there saying like, oh, our Halloween robots are super popular, let's make a scary one for Christmas and capitalize on that. And I think they did. I think he was pretty popular, but I saw him there and I was like, who does he look like? And I was like, Snow Miser. I was like, I could totally sculpt Snow Miser, but creepier. And that's what I did. And then Buddy the Elf, again, same concept, beloved character, turn him into a demon. It's kind of like my vibe this year, I guess. I thought it was really funny because when I finished him, I wasn't trying to make him look like Will Ferrell at all, but I think it kind of looks like a gaunt, dead Will Ferrell. And then Heat Miser, same concept as Snow Miser. I actually wanted to make his hair real wool or synthetic wool, but I couldn't find any that was bright enough for the sculpture. I needed like neon orange wool and like time was running out, so I just ended up sculpting it. But I think if I would have done the real hair, it would have been a little bit more effective. And I actually think he turned out better than my Snow Miser sculpture, but the videos, you know, Snow Miser performed better than Heat Miser, so I don't know. What I like isn't always what public likes. Or what I think is gonna do really well usually doesn't. And what I think isn't gonna do really well, it usually does. Like, it never fails with that kind of thing. I don't know why. And then my last two videos of the year are these two lovely characters. I have my little peekaboo elf with the shaking tongue.
Merry Christmas!
He cracks me up. Now what's funny about him is that he didn't perform very well on YouTube, but on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, he like blew up. Like, I'm almost at 1 million views for him on Instagram and over 500,000 on Facebook. Facebook of all things, like Facebook never promotes your stuff. I don't know what happened, but he did really well on every platform but YouTube. I don't know why, because he was such a fun sculpture and he wasn't like an easy, you know, an easy way out or anything like that. Like, he was actually pretty difficult and I had to like learn how to use a brand new clay for the first time, and like it wasn't, you know, all butterflies and rainbows getting to this point, but I think I did it and I think he's cute, and if you haven't seen the video yet, you should totally watch it.
Merry Christmas!
And then after I made him, I really wanted to do it again because I had a lot of fun doing it. So I turned a little reindeer guy into a singing Krampus, and he did very poorly too on YouTube. I still don't have him up on any other platform yet, but I need to do that before New Year's. But he's just the same concept as that, just a different execution. Oh my God. Okay, whatever. He actually sings the entire song, and I'm really surprised that he does. But I think he came out good, and nobody liked him. But last sculpture of the year, singing Krampus and tongue elf. All right, now I'm gonna set all the sculptures up in front of me like I do every year so we can see all of them at once. And that is a wrap 2023. Here's all the friends that I've made for the most part. Some of them aren't with us today, but this is all the ones that I still have. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being with me along this YouTube journey. This is my 4th year doing it, and I am so excited for what's to come next. I have a lot of ideas planned. I have new products I want to release, and I am just so excited to share even more stuff with you out of my crazy mind. So as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Happy New Year. Thank you for everything, and I will see you in my next video.